All right, well, it was a productive day in my car's shop, or Mike R's shop, whichever way you want to say it. We started tearing into the 26 Oakland, and so we were looking at why there is lack of compression on 2 cylinders. We actually found there's lack of compression on 3. Number 1 had just a very little bit of compression, but number 2 and number 6 were real issues, and we'll get into that. Once I get this video put together, I'm probably going to do a wrap-up on what our discoveries were and what the issues are, but just wanted to welcome you to the show tonight or today or wherever it is in your part of the world, and as we're tearing into the engine on the 26 Oakland and finding out what's going on. So let's go for it. In the beginning here, my dad and I are just talking about the game plan and what we're going to do. Hopefully you can hear that. The video is not the best quality, but it was noisy in the shop because of the furnace and the heaters running. But there you go. So we're beginning the very processes of starting to tear into the engine on the 1926 Oakland. Okay. Well, I thought we should probably evaluate the engine first.
Okay.
See where we're at. Got to go by memory. We'll pull the valve covers off the side and check those valves and make sure that they're stuck like I remember they are.
Yeah.
So we're going to first. Then maybe we'll try to take one tire off. You said you brought the jack stands, right?
Yeah.
It's really not good.
Yeah, it's good.
Probably we'll see. They're nothing you're going to need for a while.
They've been there in the garage since
I have some, but I'd rather not tie them up.
heavy wire in the back of the garage.
Right. Probably not. So get an update here. So what we've got, we just checked, and we definitely have 2 cylinders with no compression. Cylinder number 2 and cylinder number 6. So we're in the process right now of removing the hood, which means we need to bring the radiator forward to get the hood pan out. So that's what we're working on. Okay, so where we're at right now is we've taken the hood off so that we can access things, because we got to pull the head off and see why we don't have any compression. We're pretty sure it's stuck valves based upon the clearance between the valve stem and the lifters, but we obviously need to verify that. The other thing we're finding is the cooling system. The main tube out of the radiator is almost solid rust, so that's a bit of a concern. What are we going to get into on the cooling side of this engine? But right now we've got to find out even what's going on, why we don't have compression on those 2 cylinders. So we've removed the hood, it's down there on the floor. We're taking a hacksaw and cutting off the old hoses because they're hard as a brick, and we don't want to break any of the heater core or any of the nipples or anything on the radiator or the head. So we're being careful about that. So we'll get those hoses out of the way, and then later we can go back very carefully and cut those off. They're hard as a stick. So there's just no way to take those off without cutting them off. So that's common on a car this old. So that's about it. But to take the hood off, we had to take that bar across in front of the radiator and remove the turnbuckles inside for the wire on this right here to hold the radiator, and then there's a bar with a nut on it, so we took that off, tipped it forward, and then we're able to pick that hood off of there. So right now we're just getting ready to set it to top dead center on number 1, so we know where the distributor points. So when we go to put it back together, that makes it easier, and then we're going to pop that head off of there and see what we've got going on inside. valves. Okay, so we have the head off, and what we're seeing is that the valves are probably being held open by carbon. Pull up one of these chunks here. So right here we see that there's a chunk of carbon that's actually the shape of the valve seat. So it probably, there's carbon that's broken loose for whatever reasons, we don't know. I doubt it's from sitting. It could have been issues that were in this engine from way back. That's my guess. I don't think it's anything that's happened from it being turned over or anything. It's just carbon that's loose, and I think holding valves open. So we will need to pull the valves out, and we will need to check the valve seats and the valves and make sure that all these valves seat properly. But you can see on this one right here, we only had a little bit of compression, and this actually got some rust here on this valve. That's a little bit of a concern. But can you get your light and just shine down the cylinders over here? There's probably a light on this camera, but so what I'm wanting to do right now is just kind of go into number 2 there. Bring your light up over further. There we go. Cylinder walls look good. Very good. Super saturated with oil. I can't imagine why, Grandpa. he would oil this thing down a lot and turn it over, so that's probably why. Yeah, the cylinder walls for the most part look good. So what I'm going to do is get my air hose out and just blow this top as much as I can and get all this crap out of here. And that way we won't end up with stuff down by the rings and so forth, and just get all this loose carbon out of here. So we've got a lot of scale down in the cooling passages. That is quite a concern to me, but we'll deal with that next. We'll deal with this first. So. Okay, so gonna wrap up for the night now. We got valve issues on this engine, as I mentioned before. The valves are so worn that most of 3 of them at least were being held open, so there was very little to no compression. So my suspicion is that this is why this car was stopped being driven. That there was engine problems and they just never got it fixed. So we're sorting it out. There looks like in one exhaust valve on number 2, something got in the valve and hammered the seat a little bit, and maybe the valve is just a little bit bent. Well, it is a little bit bent. I'm straightening it out right now, but I'm concerned that the valve margins are going to be too thin on these valves. They're all really worn bad. I've faced them off a little bit, and I think most of them I can salvage for what we're going to be doing with this car, but I may have to get a new exhaust valve for number 2 cylinder. Interestingly too, that valve has been replaced before, so somebody's been in this engine. It has the wedge style keeper on that one valve, and the rest of them so far are the slip through C-clip type. So this engine, I guess, it was only on the road for 20 years, but obviously the engine had been apart back then some point and had a valve replaced with a more modern type of valve keeper. So I'm going to get online and see if I can find an exhaust valve for this thing. Hopefully they're still out there somewhere. I'd like to buy a new one, and then see what we can do to get that sealed up. I resurfaced the seat in that one. It had some marring in it. Maybe it burnt just a little bit. Looked like it was hammered. Something was in there. I don't know. Maybe somebody was messing in it. I don't know. But so we'll see on that. But I've got the seat pretty well fixed, and I think it's going to be all right. So thank God, because they're really into the block, and that could be a real issue. So I think we're going to be good there. We just got to, like I said, get the valve so it's right, and we're going to have to do a valve adjustment. But 4 valves I've got out and resurfaced them a little bit, and I think they're going to be good. So as long as we get some decent compression on those cylinders, we'll be golden. So I got 4 more to take out. I'm not doing that right now. I probably won't get to that for a while, but I'm going to wrap up for the day. So that's progress on the 1926 Oakland. Rock!